Welcome to Deges and Dragons.
I thought this was going to be hard.
Welcome to Deges and Dragons.
Who wants some of the Ripper?
They're state champs, baby. Woo!
Smoke heroes!
He's completely Captain Crunch. I'm a man of the people.
Shattered world.
Ripper knows! Ripper always knows!
Welcome to another episode of the Degecast, the supplemental podcast for our YouTube show, Deges and Dragons. I'm your host, Nate Lindberg, and you can follow me here, and you can follow our brand here. Now, I'm going to keep the rest of my intro brief for you guys tonight. We have two things on the menu for you guys. First, I'm going to replay the thank yous that we aired during the first episode of Tiny Frontiers. Why? Because, well, it's important to me to say thank you again because, well, we're really appreciative. And on the topic of thank yous, let me right a wrong from those thank yous. David, Sherduan, we kind of forgot you, and I'm sorry because, man, we shouldn't have. I don't know how that happened, but it did. So I want to say thank you for all of your support throughout season one, and I want to say thank you for the 5 copies of Clank, actual books, hard copies of Clank that you donated to us for a giveaway earlier this year. So thank you very much, and goddamn, I'm sorry, man. I didn't mean to forget you. The second thing on the menu tonight, I'm going to turn this over to my partner in crime, the Dege Master himself, Conrad Audette. Conrad had a very specific reason for wanting to bring Deges and Dragons to life, and he recorded this earlier for a scrapped project. However, I still thought that this was an important piece of Dege history, and I wanted you guys to hear it in his unedited words, how exactly role-playing games personally affected him. Now, it's time for me to stop flapping my gums, and let's get this episode underway.
First of all, thank you to Nate for all his hard work in editing and bringing this project to life. Thank you to Tony for your dedication and reliability as a player for every game. Thank you to everybody who has given us time and support, whether you be a player, an interviewee, or just general support. Thank you to It's Never Dark Enough, the whole team, really. Your team has been just so generous and really has backed us with everything you've done. Thank you to Jonathan Gilmore and Doug Lewandowski, the Kids on Bikes creators. Thank you to Jay at Feral Games Inc. Thank you to Nathan Paoletta. Thank you to Michael and Eric of Narrative Dynamics. Thank you to Mr. Turnip. Thank you to Bear Winters for your love and support. Thank you to Jack Birkenstock of the Bodana Group and giving us the opportunity to take part in Save Against Fear and for believing in us. Thank you to all the creators for your encouragement with our project. But most of all, thank you, the viewer. From the bottom of my heart, from the bottom of all our hearts, thank you for watching. Hopefully you were able to get something out of it, and we hope you'll continue watching.
All right, guys, I even took the green screen down so you can see where the magic happens and I do the editing for the show here. But season 1 thank yous, I went old school, pen and paper. First off, Tony, thank you for your reliability. Like Conrad said a little bit earlier in the episode, you've been awesome this season. You've been reliably here. You've hit every episode. I haven't even done that, so that's awesome. You've helped me with some editing, with the podcast, with the show itself, so that's awesome. You've been amazing. To all of our players, you know who you are. Thank you for all your time, all of your effort, everything you've done to make this possible. And to the viewer, because without you guys, why would we be doing this, right? We wanted 100 subscribers by the end of the year. That's all we wanted, and there's 243 of you. So thank each and every single one of you, and to the 244th and beyond, welcome, and I hope you stay, and I hope you enjoy. Next, I want to say thank you to the It's Never Dark Enough team. Like Conrad said, Shattered, you guys have been amazing, probably our biggest supporters. A quick shout out especially to Tex and Zip. You guys were the first developers to reach out to us, period, across the board. But not only that, you guys have become great friends to me personally. You guys have been there for me during some dark times in my life this year, checked up on me when I needed people to check up on me, and I really sincerely appreciate that, so thank you. You've also introduced us to Bear Winters, Project by Emotus. Bear, literally one of the nicest guys on the planet, one of our biggest supporters as well. Bear, personally a big inspiration to me, especially after sitting down with you and kind of getting your story. I see a lot of parallels in our lives, similarities in our lives, and I really like the way that you handled things compared to me. Although I don't think I handled things too bad, but I'm really inspired by what you took out of life and then created something out of it. So I want to be more like you, my friend. Jack Birkenstock, with everything you do with the Bodhana Group, thank you for that personally, first of all. But second of all, thank you for everything you've done with helping with Season 1 and everything you're doing to help with Season 2. Doug Lewandowski, thank you for everything you've let us do with Kids on Bikes, helping with Free Content Friday, helping with a couple other things as well. Come sitting on the Degecast, things like that, you've been awesome as well. Conrad said a whole bunch of other thank yous. I'm not going to sit here and reiterate all of that right now, but I do want to say a big thank you to Conrad, because you know what? We wouldn't be here right now if it wasn't for Conrad. If it wasn't Conrad's idea to sit down and actually do this and make this a reality, we wouldn't be doing this. Conrad, for a quarter century now, you've been like a best friend and brother to me. So your passion for helping others through role-playing games is really the reason I do this. This is a lot of work. I put a lot of time and energy and effort into the show, and I do it because I know how much you are, because I know how passionate you are about this and how much you want this to actually become a thing and how much you want to actually help people. So even though this is a lot of work, I certainly enjoy it, or I wouldn't keep doing it, obviously. But my biggest motivation for this is to make your dream a reality. So I'm hoping that I can do that and do you proud. Everybody, thank you and enjoy the rest of the episode.
Hello everyone, I'm Conrad. You probably best know me as the resident game master, the Dege master, if you will. I also play Poindexter Pointer Puny, the wrestling game that Nate runs. So that is where you would know me from every video. So I guess how tabletop gaming has influenced my life is in a huge way. I mean, just some of the friendships I formed when I first learned how to play back in my freshman year of college. I mean, I had certainly heard about tabletop role-playing and kind of really very loosely had read about it and played here and there, but nothing really concrete. It wasn't until Jonas and Billy, who you will see, they're both in Shattered. Billy is in Clink. You'll see them both in Season 2 as well. But anyway, they're the ones who introduced me to role-playing, and it certainly was a narrative focus and always questioning what was happening. It wasn't just a matter of, okay, like, we live in a world of numbers and the dice dictate what happens. Granted, that's a huge part of role-playing, but certainly the imagination was allowed to run as wild as could be, which you may have picked up on from some of my own game design and how wacky we get with our stories. But from there, I had this crazy campaign going in my dorm where I was like, I want in on this every level. So I went out and I bought my first book, which was the Draconomicon, which, again, not really like important to running the game. It just had a lot of information about dragons. But it just got me into the spirit of things, and so I went ahead and began running my own homebrew at Assumption, and it was a 30-person game. Like, certainly not 30 people sitting around simultaneously attempting to play, but it was all one story where everybody could be whatever characters they could come up with. And I mean, really, homebrew. Like, we had somebody who was just a rabbit who had the ability to hold a knife with her mouth. But yes, was, a 1.5 foot 5-pound rabbit. And that was the character alongside the more typical paladin that you would see in a high fantasy setting. But it got the entire dorm involved, and everybody was playing all these different roles, and it was just so cool. And I just wanted more and more of that, the interaction that everybody could get, and the creativity that was being circled. Just there are so many cool concepts and ideas, and everybody bringing their own personality and qualities into this game. And I think that that's also along the lines of course, I studied psychology, and so I was just so interested in why people made these characters and how they were role-playing, and just the psychology behind it. And it made me begin as a player to stray from characters that felt really close to home and just stuff that I had, related to, and just trying new things, just constantly trying new things and trying to understand the psyche behind it. And it became very important for me within the year, as I was, first diagnosed with an autoimmune disease, which started deteriorating my health. But it wasn't for years to come until it really took a serious toll on my life and has inhibited me from doing a lot of other things that I wanted to do. But role-playing has allowed me to reframe and understand value and how to define people in different ways. So it was a major part of my own being to see myself as an athlete, to see myself as very strong and physically strong, that is. But I, since then I've come to know that strength certainly has more than one meaning, and that, of course, I know from, it's like a personal level, rather than just simply knowing, of course, like we know that strength comes in many forms. But for me personally, it was something that I was like, well, physical strength is what matters most. But that's certainly not the case now, because I have had the opportunity to explore and define myself in new ways. And I wouldn't have had that opportunity without role-playing. So when I had approached Nate with this project and idea, it was a matter of, I want to get back into doing something with psychology. Like I want to do, have it be something that we can look to every week, on some level, like work with it and explore it. And myself just kind of going back and looking through old studies and how they can relate to role-playing, and certainly the therapeutic value that role-playing has. Like my own background is with cognitive behavioral therapy, and role-playing is a technique that's just part of the toolkit for a cognitive behavioral therapist. When you're working with substance abuse problems, you'll have your friend who always calls you up, and that's kind of the initial trigger for you, where you end up in a situation that you didn't necessarily want to be in. And so we'll actually role play that out. Say like, okay, I'm going to be your friend, and we're going to role play out how you're going to react and what you're going to say, because with that practice, then, it becomes easier that when you have to do it. It may be in that moment, your brain's just not putting together the sentences that you want to bring forth to that conversation. You're scrambling, and you feel the pressure from certainly a social standpoint, but from an addiction standpoint as well. It comes up in couples counseling, marriage counseling. It comes up with depression and anxiety. It comes up really with every diagnosis to some level, but certainly practicing is how we get better at things. And it starts, I mean, we know as far back as Plato, I know personally, so far back as Plato, who discusses exercising the mind the way one would exercise the body. And I think that that's still true today. And we actually implement that in our strategies for treating mental health, is exercises of the mind, and that will strengthen it. So role-playing, of course, just then it's a very easy transition for me as a cognitive behavioral therapist to see the value of it and to want to bring it to other people. And the next thing that we kind of wanted to make a focus was to bring the indie games to light. Certainly I myself have had great experiences with Dungeons and Dragons, but that wasn't truly how I was taught. It was like 100% homebrew material was how I was brought into it. And so the value I saw in that, and what, people who aren't in Dungeons and Dragons specifically, I guess, but in any of like the, big major companies, just people who have poured their soul into a story and wanted to give it form with a rule set, and so that other people can live in that world that as you see it. And I think that there's just so much value in that. Like, we create art as a form of therapy for ourselves. Just the creation of art is therapeutic, and that level of expression, the ability to just get out and make something that we're proud of and happy with, and being able to share that with other people is important. And so to bring attention to the, I guess I'd say like the little guy, but to, shine a light on that. And if we can make that more accessible for people, then that's just all the better. So make the ability to roleplay more accessible, and make games that are created that you may not have heard of, that we believe have great value, to give them a try. And so also bring those to the light. And we really just want to share that with everybody. And hopefully in viewing season 1, you've gotten some of that, and hopefully continuing on with season 2, you will continue to get that.
Let's go.